Awesome. Here we are live in our 50 plus and fabulous groups and our 50 plus life redesigned. So we're so excited to be here. Purse Strings. We're here every Monday at 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern. And today we are joined by Terri Hill from Two Hills Consulting.
Hi, Maggie. Thank you so much for inviting me to join this community. I'm really excited about being here today.
Cass, we're so excited to have you on. It's a great way kind of to start the new year, talking about some goals and some different ways to set goals. And I know you have a story as well that's might bring some tears, but we're excited about that because we all love hearing about how other women have succeeded and how that really can help other women launch forward and believe in their dreams. Real quick, we are Purse Strings. We come here every Monday at 1:30. We're all about providing financial education for women. But then we know education can only take you so far, and you have to work with a professional to kind of wrap things up or get things going. So we want to make sure you're working with the right professionals who really treat you with respect, care to your needs, be on your team. And that's what our Purse Strings approved professionals are. And Terri is one of them. So we're so excited to have you. Terri is a coach, but we also have attorneys, FAs, lenders, mortgage brokers, divorce coaches. So we have, the whole gamut of whoever you're looking for in your team during your transition or transaction. But today we are here with Terri, and we're going to be talking about goals, which I'm super excited about. So to get started, Terri, I'd love just to learn more about you and what you do.
Well, I'll try to give you the short version, but because I don't want to take up too much time on that. I graduated from Penn State University. I think it's a small school. You may have heard of it, with a degree in education. So I have a degree to teach mathematics in high school. I use that not a whit. There were no positions when I graduated. So I ended up in the workforce and eventually landed in sales. And I was in sales in a marketing and advertising capacity for probably 25 plus years, worked at a variety of locations and positions. So I looked for big companies like Comcast, small family organizations. And what's so funny about this whole Purse Strings, in a way, is back in probably about 10 years ago, I didn't enjoy what I was doing, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I became a financial advisor because I thought that was a perfect marriage between sales and math education. And by the way, it wasn't for me. So I had 18 months in that space, and it didn't work for me. And eventually went back into marketing and had the epiphany that what I really, really love to do, and the reason I was in all the positions I was in, is because I wanted to help people. And I studied personal development a lot, specifically desire to do is help women in particular tap into their dreams and to create the life that they want to create. Because I think a lot of times we allow others to create the life for us, right? We allow family to create the priorities for us. We allow our spouses or significant others to do that. And there's a time in our life when it should be us. So that's where I came in, and that's where Two Hills Consulting was started for that reason.
Oh, that's a great story. And I'm so excited about this today because I know so many wonderful women in this group talked about different transitions they're going through. Because we always, as women, put, everybody else first except for ourselves. But now at this 50 plus age, you might be, be an empty nester finally, or start having those grandkids, or, might be going through divorce. So you have these different things going on. So let's get started about living kind of that best life. So I'm so excited. Yeah.
Okay. Well, today we're talking about goals, and it's kind of timely and yet not at the same time, right? Because we're already into mid-January. So we hope a lot of people in the community have already taken time to kind of reflect and say, what are my goals for this year? And I wanted to just go back and say I will tell you my experience, because Maggie, you are still in that youthful stage. I don't remember having a clear purpose or reason that I would write goals when I was younger. I know in education we had something called general learning objectives and specific learning objectives, which could equate to goals. And it wasn't until I got into sales, which goals were then required to be set. And Goals at that time, if anybody's been in sales, it's pretty much you take your last year's goals and you kind of put a factor of like maybe 10% growth over it. So if I said $1 million in sales one year, the next year would be 1.1 million. There was very much a logical space and step that you took in order to grow your goals. And when I started to study this personal development, one of the first things that I learned was how to look at goals differently. And it kind of threw me for a loop because one of the ways that I learned to set goals, of course, were, being very logical, SMART goals, being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, or realistic and time bound, which are great. Let me say there's a reason for all of those. But I learned that goals actually are meant to help us grow as an individual. And if they're meant to help us grow as an individual, that would imply that it's something we probably haven't done before. It's to help us go somewhere we haven't gone before. And if you look at, realistic, it's probably wouldn't be considered maybe realistic. And it might not have been even considered attainable or achievable if we kind of looked in that frame. For some people, that could be that they want to run a marathon, or they want to be in maybe that kind of capacity. They may want a certain health goal that they're looking for that they haven't achieved before. But it could also be money-wise. You may be making a certain amount of money and say, hey, you know what? I'm tired of that 10% increase over time. Maybe I want to double my income. Well, what if I could triple my income? What if I could quadruple my income? What would it mean to my family and to my life if I could really have those increases? Because those incremental increases really don't seem to have the big impact that we would like to have in our life. So, Jules, can we dream big? Can we dream big? So today I want to give you some really quick tips on how you can create that big goal and some ways to get started on it so that, you keep that excitement and motivation and focus on it. So that's kind of where I want to go. So deep breath. Whew, deep breath. So I want you to think of goals in 3 categories: an A goal, a B goal, and a C goal. So if you already have your goals written down and you can look at them now, or you have something in your mind, what it is, I want you to be able to characterize them. So an A goal would be something that you've probably done before. So I want to buy another house. I want to get another car. I want to have another job, maybe it's a lateral move for you. It's not something that you've already done it. It's not something it could be exciting, but it's not going to necessarily cause you to be or do something that you haven't done before. You've done it. So it's just a matter of doing it again. That's an A goal. You know how to do it. Okay.
You know how to do it. You don't have to learn many new things.
You don't have to look at it for any other resources. Now, a B goal, your B goal is not a B goal like the dog, but a B goal is something that stretches you. So it's going to require a little bit more work, a little more planning. But usually this plan is something that, man, you're pretty sure you can get there. If all these things line up, if all of these things come to fruition, that goal is going to be achieved. And I look at this like if you decide you're going to be a runner, and I am not a runner, so don't ask me to run. I am never going to be a marathon. If you ever hear me say that, you could go, you're crazy, because that is not my goal. That's never my goal.
Me either.
Okay. But you know that you might be able to run a mile, but now maybe a stretch for you, your B goal is to run 5 miles, to run that, or 5K even could be a stretch goal for you. So that's a stretch goal. The marathon is going to be the big goal. So the B goal is, how to get there. You just have to have a plan, and there's need to be a little more things that are going to need to get into place. B goals would have been my 10% growth back in the sales days, my 10% growth. Good. Good thing.
Just enough.
But I will tell you, and I'm going to digress just briefly, but I had coffee with a friend of mine, and I said, do you have a goal? Did you have a goal for 2021 way back? And she's like, oh yeah, I did. And I said, well, did you reach it? And she said, yeah, I did. And I said, what do you think about it? She goes, it's okay. Yeah. So we don't want a meh goal. I think A and B's are meh. It's okay. I did it. Now your C goals, C, are ones that are really going to excite you. Something that is also called a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal, if you've heard of that. So it would be something that would be a BHAG for you. It's going to be something that may even scare you because you're going to look at it and you're going to go, I don't know how the heck to achieve that. It could be financial goal. It could be anything. It could be that you want a private island, that you want to take a world cruise. It could be that you want to, solve, the peace problem in the world. It could be anything. It could be whatever just lights your fire. So it's unique to you. Like I said, marathon running is not my thing. So, but it could be for somebody else. So that could be your C goal. You don't know how to do it. You just don't know. And it's going to require you as an individual to dig deep. And it's not that you're going to be something you're not. It's going to be that this innate quality within you has just not been exposed to light yet. Mm-hmm. So you're going to start to allow yourself to become more of who you're supposed to be by reaching for your C goal. So it's going to be uncomfortable, but it's going to be exciting at the same time and inspiring. And by the way, it can still be smart. It's still going to be specific. You're still going to be able to measure it and know when you're going to do it. You're just going to redefine achievable because you're going to say, can I do it? And do I have the will to do it? Yes, I do. It's not going to be realistic, but it's going to be relevant because it's going to be excitable for you. And you're going to give it some time boundaries as well. So it's still smart, but you're looking at A and R a little differently in what that is. So that's
Yeah, these C goals, I mean, all your goals should kind of be exciting and invigorating. I mean, there's a reason that we want this, either if it's a second home, like an A goal, you've already bought one before. It's still exciting because that might be an income property and a fun opportunity. But then you mentioned we have the B goals, which are a little bit more of a stretch. We just need a little bit more alignment, focus on those. And then our C goals are these bigger stretch goals, which yes, they're achievable. Let's get them. Those are the big, fun, fiery goals. Would you call those BHAGs?
BHAGs, yes. Big, hairy, audacious goals. It
That's
doesn't
fun.
sound really nice, but BHAGs is another name for them. So it's just a fun name.
That's really fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will tell you, one of the exercises I give women to do, and I would challenge the community to do this anyway, because it'd be probably a lot of fun to do, or it could be really hard to do for some people, is to start creating a list of 50 items, 50 things that you want in life. And it could be your be, do, or have. And it's to write this list as if money's no object. You don't have to worry. It'll come available. Your education, your resources, everything's going to become available to you. So you don't worry about limitations. You just say, if I could have anything in the world and there were no restrictions, what would that look like? What would my life look like? And the reason I tell you 50 is because a lot of us will start the list of 10 and we can rattle off 10 pretty easily. Oh, I want to go take my family to Disney World, or I want that beach vacation. I want this, I want that. And we rattle those off rather easily. But then when you start to go deeper, it requires you to actually think outside the box and start to dream a little bit. You haven't gotten there, Maggie, because you're not there yet. But when over the years, the 50 plus community, I've been there. I'm 58, so I've been in that community where you sacrifice everything for your family, and for the greater good, and that's a worthy cause, and not saying it shouldn't be done. But there's a time when the family doesn't need you to the extent that they do anymore. And you have the opportunity to choose now what you want to do, and you can elect what you want to do. And it can be empowering and it can be frustrating at the same time, because where do you go from here? What's available from here? I know a lot of women in the community that I speak with, they're at this point at the 50 plus where they're saying, I don't want to be doing what I've been doing. I took the job because it was the hours and whatever it made my family work, but I don't like doing it anymore. What do I want to do? So I want people to start dreaming again, especially at this age. We have a lot of life ahead of us, and taking the time to just really start to capture it and dream big. So 50 is the number I challenge all of you to write down. identify the goals as either A, B, or C. Go back to them once you go through. You'll be honest with yourself. You probably know how to achieve quite a few of them. I know one woman on my lovely list had organized a closet. I think you guys know how to organize a closet. I will bet you that's an A goal for most of you.
We've all done it before.
We've all done it. It may not have stayed organized, but we could probably do it.
We're doing it again.
We can do it again. So, go back and look at those A, B, and C's. When you get your C's, put them back together and really take the time to look at them and feel them and say, what would really excite me if I looked at the end of this year, 2022? Which one of these would really make me happy? Which one would I go, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. What does this look like? And all of us are going to have way different lists. And a caveat, I will tell you that I learned, which is kind of interesting, since I told you we all have different lists. If it comes up, if you're inspired, something comes up and says, oh, I want to be interviewed by Oprah. Okay, maybe that's on the list. The reason it comes up is because it's exciting. And by the way, it's possible. Mm-hmm. And so if you look at it that way and go, wow, don't let the realism, start to squish your dreams, but allow it to bubble up and allow yourself to write those down. It gets very, very exciting. So what's the next step? What's the next step, right, Maggie? I don't know if you know. Do you know the next step?
No, I don't. How do you get started though? Because
Okay.
One time I did hear that, anything that you can picture, you can really make come alive. And so if you could picture you and Oprah in the White House, then it can be done. Your brain can't picture something false like that. So you can make it happen.
Well, I wasn't thinking White House. I was thinking her Maui estate, but hey.
That's a better option.
I like that one much better. I like the Maui idea.
Yeah, I'm going to come on your trip, but
okay,
yes.
Come with me on my trip. Come join me on my trip. So once you get to that space where you kind of say, okay, this one really excites me. And of course, it's going to make you nervous and it's going to make you uncomfortable. And you're going to say, I don't know how to do this. And that's perfectly natural. It's perfectly natural. But what I want to challenge you to do is to keep it in focus, because what we focus on is what we get, and what we focus on is where we're going to go. So we need to set our GPS to what we want. So every day when you get up, you write down what your goal is, and you write it down in a phrase that assumes it's already happened. So what that looks like or sounds like is, I am so happy and grateful now that, and after now that is present tense of what you wanted. So if yours is, I want to make $1 million, I am so happy and grateful now that I'm earning $1 million a year. If it's, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm at my perfect weight and health, whatever that looks like. I am so happy and grateful now that I'm in Maui being interviewed by Oprah. Whatever that is, you write that down every day. And you know what that does for you, Maggie? Well, what it does for you is it kind of sets your brain that you start to look at possibilities. So before, where somebody might have said, offered you a suggestion and it might not have been the way you thought it was going to be, now you're kind of starting to say, wow, is that my first step towards getting closer to something? Maybe I should meet with that one. Maybe I should talk to that person. Maybe there's a reason I thought I should join purse strings community. Maybe there's something there. And you start to take those little steps, and it starts to allow you the opportunity to get there. And I know I want to make sure I tell my quick story about using this. When I became that financial advisor and it didn't work, I used this to determine what I wanted to do next. So all I knew was I didn't know if it was going to be in financial advising, because I passed everything. And my heart was intentional.
I could do it.
I liked to do. And then I had been in marketing and sales. And I said, well, all I know is I want a job I love. And I wanted at that point to make $100,000 a year, which may or may not seem a lot to a lot of people. But at the time, it was double what I was making at the financial institution. And I felt that was going to get me, back on my feet. So I would write down, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm in a job I love and making $100,000 a year. And if my logical brain was activated, I thought I'm either going to be I'm going to be in banking, or I'm going to be at an ad agency, because I had kind of experiences in both and I liked them. but I wasn't sure. But that's in my brain. Well, that's not where I ended up. I ended up in a totally different environment. It wasn't a sales environment. It was for a family-owned business. And I never would have picked them up and said, that's where I want to work. That's where I want to work. Never would have done that. But yet by taking that, being open and having a conversation, I took a chance and I went there. And I will tell you, it wasn't the first year that I made that money, but it was the second year. So I was close the first year, but not quite. Second year, I nailed it. So
but it's still better than the 50. I mean, it's always when you're just shy of a goal, it's still a huge success.
Yes. Yes. Which they say, shoot for the stars, at least you'll hit the moon.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's an amazing story.
Well, it's a simple story, but it worked for me, and it worked I know it's worked for other people as well. So I still do that every morning. I wake up and I write down what my goal is. And it just, like I said, it helps me remain focused throughout my day. So and that is that. Now, do you have any questions? Because I do have the story that I want to share with you.
Yeah, I would love anyone to pop in any questions if they have any. Somebody did comment how they love how this information is being shared. It's exciting to think outside the box of all that can be or is, just to kind of reframe our thinking, which is super awesome, and everything that you're talking about. And it's amazing, we have to remember that things aren't going to work in the linear process that our brain thinks they should. It's going to work in its own magical way of life, which it's always worked out. But it's always interesting how, it's not going to take your linear path like you planned.
No, it
never does. Never.
It really does. It rarely does. And it's one of those things, like there's outside forces that we don't know, we can't see, but will be available to us. There's resources and opportunities, and we just have to be able to identify them. So it's really, and it's actually cool if you think about it. It's like, wow, it's like a mystery. I'm solving a mystery every day. Where's
a surprise?
Yes, woohoo! It's all that.
So yeah, share your story with us.
So my story, and it's not my story, I'm repeating a story, but this is one that really spoke to, actually, this is my tear up story. So if I tear up, I apologize, but I think it's just such a lovely story. There's a coach, Mary Morrissey, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Mary. She's from the West Coast, and I followed some of her teachings, and she shares a story of her working with one of her students or one of her clients. And this woman, it was a woman, was one that was working two jobs. She had a job in a fast food restaurant, and she was taking in laundry at night in order to make ends meet. She was a single mother. She had two kids, was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in this city. And she's working with Mary, and Mary's challenging her. What do you dream of? What is it that you would really, really like? And the woman took a deep breath, and after a lot of thought, said, well, what I would really like is I would like a home for my kids. And Mary's kept saying, well, what do you want? Well, not only a home, I want each kid to have their own bedroom. And I want to have a window over the sink. So when I do the dishes, I can look out the window. And I want to look out the window into a backyard. And I want the yard fenced. And boy, if I want the yard fenced, I want to be able to have a dog out there for the kids to play with. I want to have that. That's what I really want. I want a house. I want a place for my children. And after the conversation, Mary says, so how do you feel? And the lady says, I feel awful. She says, what do you mean you feel awful? And she says, well, I can't have it. I can't afford a house. I can barely afford the apartment I'm in. How can I afford a house with 3 bedrooms? I can't do it. And Mary said, well, if you believed it were possible, if it were possible for you to have that house or have a house, what is one small step you could take if you knew it were possible? And the woman thought, and she said, well, if I thought it were possible that I could afford it, I think I'd start looking. I'd probably look for a house. Mary says, great. Why don't you do that? So at the next meeting, Mary says, so how was your, make any progress? And the woman says, yeah, I found it. I found the house. And Mary says, okay, tell me about it. She says, oh, it has, the yard that I want. It has the amount of space I want. It's for rent. Now it's a little beat up. Like there's needs to be some TLC and some upgrades, but it really is. I really like the house. And Mary says, what do you think? And she goes, I feel awful. I can't afford the house. It's double what my rent is. I can't afford it on my income. Mary questions her again and says, if you believe it were possible, what is one step you could take? And the woman said, well, if I believed it were possible, I would write to the landlord and I would write him a note and say about why I want the house, how I envision my kids there, and I would offer to do the upgrades to the house that need to be done. It needs to be painted. It needs some kind of minor repairs. I can do that. I'm handy. I can do that in exchange for a reduction in rent. I can do that. I'm going to write him a note. So she writes him a letter. She sends him a picture. She draws like in crayons and markers what the house would look like if she had a chance to do it. And she sends it to the landlord. And a couple weeks later, she gets a phone call and it's the landlord. And he says, I don't know why I'm calling you. I have 3 people who are willing to pay full price for this property. And yet I cannot get your letter out of my mind. And he said, if you're willing to do the work, and we'll put a schedule together. If you're willing to do the work that you said you're going to do, I will buy the stuff that's required. I'll buy the paint, I'll buy whatever, but you do the work, you put in the sweat equity. I'm willing to reduce your rent so you can live there. Is it a deal? And she moved into that house.
Good for her.
And she has to pinch herself because she never thought it was possible based on what her realistic expectations were, based on what she could see. She never would have thought it was possible. But what's so wonderful about this story is it doesn't stop there. Because she started to believe in what she could do, she got a promotion at work. So now she's earning more money. She can get rid of her second job. She can focus more on the kids. And she did get the dog. So it's just such a lovely story about how things can snowball once you take that first step into belief and possibility for yourself. So my question for everyone will be, what small step can you take if you believed it was possible?
Oh, I just have goosebumps. It's so great. I mean, it's so happy for her. And you do see, every little impact. You're like, oh, it's happening. It's happening. It is adding up. It takes a minute, but it does add up.
And they're not really big. If you think about it, it wasn't like a major step out of her comfort. It was uncomfortable, but it wasn't, her looking for a home is uncomfortable for her, but it's not something that you couldn't do, right? It's not.
And someday you're going to have to do it either way. That's the process of buying a house. It's not something you can get around. So that's amazing. Yeah. One of the users said, it's all about that compound effect.
It is. True. That is perfect. Yes. It is all about compounding. And I will say compounded consistency. So, if you're taking those small steps, and you're saying there's a goal, whatever it is, if you start making that commitment to taking those small steps every day, there will be a compound effect. It's fabulous. So it doesn't have to be anything major. Yeah.
So Terri, I know it's a little personal, but may I ask you what one of your goals is this year that you're working towards?
Yes, you may. So it's funny because I've played with my goal. I've tweaked it. And I will tell you, I've learned over the years, by the way, here's my big disclaimer. I've learned, I'm all about the law of attraction. And as you work towards something, you'll see, things start to come towards you. And I would get to a point where things weren't working out and I would retreat and I'd start all over again from ground zero. And I'd pick another goal and I'd go all over. And I'm like, I must be picking the wrong goals. And I realized that there's going to be a point where you're not going to see everything come through. And it's basically just requiring you to be persistent. This is where you build your persistence muscle and you just push through. Yeah, I wasn't doing that for a long time. So I figured I did a lot of the bouncing back and forth. So I will tell you that. So my goal is really quite generic. I have part of it is that I just want to help people in whatever capacity that looks like. So I work with a lot of different organizations. I work with a lot of people one-on-one, but also in groups. I have a lot of different ways that I try to help people. So my mission always is to help people, whatever that looks like, and help women in particular, because we just don't empower ourselves enough. So we need to step into that power. And then I have a financial goal as well. So it's $20,000 a month. It's really basic right now, and it's gonna keep increasing. So I'm building it up from there. So
yeah. Well, those are great goals to have. I love it. And you know, I appreciate that you shared those with us because I know sometimes it seems vulnerable, but I know that another step is when you say them out loud and with confidence and share them. It makes them even more real, which is so much more invigorating as well.
Well, thank you. And I want to go do a shout out to Rachel Rogers, because I know that's a book that your mom, we should all be millionaires, that your mom
Yep.
really enjoys. Read it, fabulous. If anybody in the community has a chance to see it or read it, please read We Should All Be Millionaires by Rachel Rogers. She would probably say you should probably up that goal, and I still believe I should, but that's where I am today. I'm going to challenge myself probably somewhere tomorrow. So
yeah, well, we're doing that for that book, for the first book for our Purse Strings Book Club. Anyone is welcome to join. That will start Wednesday, February 2nd, 3rd, whatever Wednesday that is there, starting that first week. So grab your book. It is a great book. It feels so empowering and really teaches you, you know, to dream big and what could you have and what would you have, which sometimes is hard if you haven't been thinking outside the box. Sorry, can you stop barking, please?
Well, I mean, I'll give shout out. I mean, I used her book to challenge. I have a mastermind group of women, and I've used a lot of her teachings to have them revisit their value and how they price the services that they provide. So she gives her example. She's very vulnerable. And I shared it with them and said, okay, ladies, let's revisit what you're doing and what you're asking for, and let's rethink. So
awesome. Well, I think you've given so much inspiration, empowerment, and advice today. So I really appreciate you coming on. I will pop the link in the chat when we're finished, but I know you did want to offer today.
Yeah. Well, I'll take it. Thank you. Yes, I want to say for any of the women in the community, I know sometimes when you're going through this process, you just want somebody to bounce off ideas and really just try to get started. I will help you get unstuck. So my offer is for a 30-minute conversation to help you get unstuck. We can do it by Zoom, or we can do it by phone, whichever is more comfortable. I did give Maggie access to my calendar, so she can pop in my calendar. So you can just go in, schedule a time, and I would be happy to meet you and have that conversation to get you kick started.
Awesome. Yep. Free 30 minutes with Terri. Sounds great. I'm sure you can accomplish a lot. We got a lot done in these 30 minutes today. So thank you again, Terri, for coming on. She is one of our Purse Strings approved professionals, so you can always check her out at pursestrings.co. Or her email is in the bottom here, terri@twohills.consulting. Last but not least, we'll be here again next Monday at 1:30 Central. And if you ever have questions, just reach out. We're always here for you. So thank you for everyone joining us today, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Thank you.